Good morning. Today is the 29th of August 2023, and it's a very bad day for London because today is the day that Sadiq Khan is implementing what's called the ULEZ extension. Now, there's already a charge in central and inner London if you want to drive your car, if it's an older car, pre-2015 diesels and pre-2005. Petrol cars of £12.50 a day, but that is being extended to the whole of Greater London, an area in which 10 million people live. Okay, officially it's 9 million, but with immigration and people sort of living in beds in sheds and so on, and houses of multiple occupancy, then obviously the number of people who actually live in London is far greater than the official statistics, as in the rest of England, the rest of the UK as well. That's not the point of this video, though. The point of this video is to mark, if you like, that's a very benign word, the day that this charge comes in and is going to affect another 5 million or so people living in outer London, and also the people surrounding London in the counties neighbouring London who frequently or even every day need to drive into London to work, or to go shopping, or to care for a relative, or to do business, tradesmen and so on, who haven't got the money to buy a new vehicle and therefore are going to be charged £12.50 a day very often just to go to work, which is £62.50 a week if you need to travel to work 5 days a week, which mounts up to something like over £3,000 a year, depending on exactly how many days that you go into work or not. And this is absolutely terrible. It is essentially a tax on the poor coming from a Labour mayor. Labour is supposed to look after the working people, but they've long ago abandoned the working people, of course, in order to pursue wokery and the nonsense of climate alarmism. That's what they represent now. They don't represent working people. The Heritage Party represents working people because we're against the nonsense of wokery and we're against the nonsense of climate alarmism. This is all being done on the basis of climate alarmism and also the spurious rationale that London has dirty air, and therefore charging vehicles to drive into London, which are older, is going to make London's air cleaner. Well, the air in outer London is way below the existing World Health Organization standards for NOx, that's nitrogen oxides, and PM 2.5s. Now, I'm no fan of the World Health Organization, as I've said and stated in many other videos, for other reasons, but on this, they have a global standard which they say air quality needs to be below to be safe, and outer London's air meets those standards. So there's absolutely no scientific or political rationale for bringing in such a charge to outer London to catch 1 million or so maybe vehicles and charge them every day. Even if you do adhere to the woke climate alarmist World Health Organization standards and settings and pronouncements. So this is just something that is going to ruin small and medium-sized businesses and hurt ordinary families who simply won't be able to drive their car around, or may be forced to drive their car and risk getting a fine and being taken to court. Because if you don't pay, then you get a fine of, I think it's £160. So over 10 times the amount of the charge. If you don't pay, then that's the fine that you will get through the post, and they will try to coerce you into paying this. But there's just been a case where a lorry driver has taken LEZ fines. Now, LEZ is similar to the ULEZ, but it's slightly different. He'd racked up, I think, £11,500 of fines, which he didn't pay for driving in the LEZ. I'll explain what that is in a minute. But he's just had those fines overturned and quashed by the court, and they've been ruled illegal because on the LEZ zone, which is the same as the ULEZ zone, it's existed for nearly a decade or so, and it only applies to lorries and buses, big vehicles. The ULEZ is Greater London now, but it's now going to apply to cars and so on. So the LEZ has been around for 10 years. If you have a lorry or a bus, you have to pay £200 or £300 a day to drive in Greater London. And, if you don't pay that, there's a massive fine. I don't know what it is, £1,000 or something. The court has just quashed those because on the signage at the edge of Greater London, it doesn't tell you that there is a charge for driving in the LEZ zone. It just said this is an LEZ zone with a camera on it and nothing else. It doesn't indicate that you have to pay a charge and where you may go to pay this charge, where you go to tfl.gov or something, but it doesn't say on the signage. So he's gone to court, brilliant guy, challenged this, and the court has ruled because the signs for the LEZ don't actually say there is a charge, what the charge is, and where you pay the charge. He doesn't have to pay the charge. Brilliant. And I think that is the same for the signage for the ULEZ, as far as I know. And particularly if you start a journey within London and then you end in another place in London, there is nothing you drive past at the beginning of your journey to indicate that you have to pay a charge. The only signage is at the outskirts of Greater London. So this really does present a very good opportunity for people to challenge this in the courts, and I hope they do, and I hope that they throw this completely to the wolves and throw this terrible charge and tax on the poor out of the courts. It shouldn't be happening. And the thing is, this isn't just happening in London. It's happening all over the country. It's happening all over the world as well, with clean air zones or low traffic neighborhoods or 15-minute neighborhoods or 15-minute cities, whatever you like to call it. There's all of these schemes being brought in. They're all similar, all by local authorities, local councils, district councils, city councils, wherever. And they're bringing in charges to drive a vehicle in local areas. And this is appalling because, if you're in the UK, you pay a vehicle license. So every year you pay to use your car on the road. And I have a car from the last millennium. So if I drove in London, I'd have to pay the ULEZ, apparently. But also, if I drove around the country, say I went in the same day and I drove from London to Birmingham to Manchester to Leeds, in a vehicle that gets hit by these charges, I'd have to pay in every single one of those cities. I'd have to pay the ULEZ in London, the clean air zone charge in Birmingham, the clean air zone charge in Manchester, the clean air zone charge in Leeds or Bradford. One of the two's got them. They're bringing them in all over the place. And then you go to an area that's been designated a low traffic neighborhood and you can't get in to that, and then there may be a charge, a fine if you go in the wrong way and you don't know because it isn't signposted clearly. All over the place, councils are trying to introduce charges in order to bring an extra charge onto someone who's already paid the national charge for using your vehicle on the road, but then they want to bring in local charges on the basis of the climate. But essentially, it's just a massive shakedown of vehicle owners, and it's there to try to discourage you from using a vehicle. But what's the alternative? You're supposed to use public transport. Well, public transport is great if you live in central London, but if you live in outer London, it's much more sparse in some areas. And if you live in the countryside, some places you don't have any public transport at all. So That's no alternative. So what they say is, oh, well, you do active travel, walk and cycle, walk and cycle. Well, again, walking and cycling is fine if you live in a city, you live in central London or central Manchester, and everything is within a mile of you, fine, because you've got all the resources of a big city right near you. But if you live in an outer suburb or you live in the countryside, you can't do walking and cycling to access the resources of the city or the nearest town. It's not possible for everybody. Okay, if you're a 21-year-old athlete, it's no problem. But if you're an older person or a disabled person, you have no, ability to do active travel all the time. It's absolute nonsense, and it is discriminatory from those people who are bang on about diversity and inclusion, and this is absolutely the least inclusive thing that they could possibly do. But it's for the climate, or so that's what they say, and I'm sure you can think of that as you will. So this is happening, and it needs to be overturned and stopped. So there are elections in London in May 2024, so it's only a few months away. The elections in London are coming up. We will, in the Heritage Party, probably be standing for the Assembly, not the Mayor this time, because a number of reasons. It costs an awful lot of money to do a London mayoral campaign, £20,000 essentially for the deposit and to get yourself in the book. So I'm just thinking about what's the best thing to do for that, because this time there is a change in the electoral rules. So at this point, the next election is the first time the London elections are happening where the winner will be decided on one round. It will be a simple first past the post contest rather than having two rounds like all the time before. So when I stood for the London Mayor in 2021, it was a foregone conclusion that Sadiq Khan was going to win, because he wasn't going to win on the first round. But then when in the second round happens, votes are transferred. Like everyone who voted, Lib Dem and Green, their votes transferred to Labour, to Sadiq Khan. And on the second round, he got in over 60%. There isn't a second round this time, so it's a simple first past the post election. So whoever gets the most votes in the first round will win. So for London, there's more important things than me. London is more important, and we must get rid of Sadiq Khan. So, I'm considering what's the best thing to do on that, because that is the only priority really for the London mayor elections. We need to get rid of him, and we need to get rid of this ULEZ charge and this wokery and everything else that's going on. But the Heritage Party, we do intend to stand for the London Assembly elections so that we get people on the London Assembly, like I was for 5 years, that will be able to bring our policies and common sense into the proceedings in the London Assembly. So that's the plan, but obviously we'll say more about the London elections as the time approaches, as May 2024 gets closer. But there you go. So we need to just get together, work together, and resist these terrible, terrible things that are coming in all over the place to restrict our movements in our own country and through these elections. And obviously with the Heritage Party, we're going to stand as many candidates as we possibly can in every election, which is national elections and local elections as well, because there will be lots of local elections coming up in May 2024 as well, all across England in various districts and by-elections in counties as well. So please do come and join me. Come and join us in the Heritage Party. We are the only party that is opposed to Agenda 2030 in its entirety. And Agenda 2030 is being implemented, and this is what is leading to all of these things happening, which really are affecting people's everyday lives. These charges, 15-minute cities, these low traffic neighborhoods, and we just need to get rid of them all and return local government to the people. We can only do that through parties, through us. I think the Heritage Party, because we represent what people want and true freedom in this country. So heritageparty.org, you can join up and continue the political resistance. Thank you for listening, everybody. And I hope we can soon make a change and get rid of Sadiq Khan and all of these people who are making life very, very difficult for the citizens of this country, and they shouldn't be allowed to do it.